Thank you for your patience. But we are back in regular session for the February 25th, 2014 Governing Board meeting for the Maricopa County Community College District. I would like to ask our new board member, Mr. Gutierrez, to please lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We've only got one substitute today. Todd Simmons is here for Dr. Chris Bustamante. Welcome, Todd. Before we get in, I'm going to kind of reorder things a little bit up front and bring up the Chancellor for his report now before we get into others. So, Dr. Glassberger.
Mr. Chair, may I go to the podium?
You may.
Mr. Saar, members of the board, I'd like to just take a few minutes today to give you a summary of a number of activities that are going on around the district and give you a perspective from where I sit in terms of the CEO and some of the things that I've been doing out in the community. I'd like to start with the status of the work that we're doing with the foundation. In the last 60 days or so, probably closer to about 70 days, I've spent a lot of time visiting with CEOs. One of the projects that I had when I came back from Christmas break was to have a CEO summit. And part of that CEO summit was to bring in approximately 42 individuals, CEOs, administrators within our system, but those who have an affiliation with us and those who do not. The basis of the meeting was to give an opportunity to try to put a face on community colleges. What we are encountering throughout the state is the fact that people love us, but they don't know a lot about us. And trying to build a case for support of community colleges begins with broadening that outreach to our community-based supporters and those within the corporations, because we are the largest provider of workforce training within the state of Arizona. But we found at that particular point in time that people are amazed at how our enrollment has grown since 1980 to this particular year of 2014, and the fact that when we look at a potential of some 50 to 75,000 students in the 1980 period to today, we stand in excess of 260,000 students and have had a high point during the recession of about 275. People aren't really sure what has happened with this growth in enrollment and how we continue to operate. What we've been told pretty much at the state level is that we have operated considerably well in the sense that we have the ability to increase tuition and property taxes, and we've continued to serve more students over the years, and we're not hurting. What I was trying to share with the business community is that in 1986, our state funding was at a high in percentage of the general operating fund of about 26 to 27%. Today, it stands at about 1%. And the state is in recovery, but the odds of us getting back to that 27% at any point in time over the next 10 to 15 or 20 years is probably never. We had a reduction of about $60 million. And those $60 million occurred during the recession, beginning about 2009 to where we are today. So as we begin to move forward, we need to think about doing business differently. And the conversations that we're having with this business community and as it relates to the foundation is that we're in the midst of a $50 million campaign. But as we go out and talk to individuals who are in our community, most of their financial support resonates with their four-year institutions because they have more of an affinity, more of a relationship, And what we need to do is establish that face and that support for our community colleges. So the lessons that I've learned within the 60 days plus has been that if we stay within the box that is defined as ours, and that is the box that talks about the technicians and talks about those who we put into the workplace that have certificates and associate degrees, and those who then transfer to the universities, then they have a better understanding of what our role is. I also like to emphasize the fact that we still educate individuals who come through our high schools, and 3 out of 5 students test into 1 or more DevEd courses. So when you factor in transfer students on the right to the university and developmental ed students on the left, then we are squarely in the middle. And our resources are being utilized to function along that continuum. But as we start thinking about what's happening in terms of our relationship, what our community is looking for, and the business community is no different than our public stewardship around our general community, and that is accountability. So we bring in the conversation around outcomes measures. But as we sit with the business community, and as I'm thinking within, I'm trying to figure out what is it that we can provide to you that will build an affinity to our community colleges, whether they be our credit colleges or our non-credit institution now, so that you will utilize our services. One of the things that we're doing now is talking about the fact that we are the largest provider in terms of health care. What are your workforce needs? We've talked about the fact that in the recent years we received a trade adjustment grant of about $13.2 million, which is led by Estrella Mountain, and we also have Chandler Gilbert as part of that in terms of energy. What are going to be the workforce needs for a Palo Verde nuclear plant over the next few years? What's going to be the need in terms of those who will be retiring? How can we help fill that pipeline? How can we build a strategy that says our faculty need an opportunity to have sabbaticals, short-term or long-term, to go out into that workplace to understand what the needs are? That our students need the opportunity as well to go out into the workplace, because you're more comfortable with an individual that you know understands your environment, you know understand the security issues and others, than you are just going to a recruitment exercise and hiring someone to come in. So I've been spending a lot of time with our staff in terms of Dr. Maria Harper-Marinick and the workforce staff and the colleges, saying that we need to be responsive. We need to be responsive in the sense that we cannot look at the capital campaign as a traditional campaign that says we need you to give us $5,000, $5, or $1 million, or $5 million, because we are the community colleges and you have an affinity to us. It's about what is the return on investment to that institution, and I think that we are structuring ourselves to be in a position to do that. So as we're doing this, we need to be in a position in the short term to first listen to the request and to be able to respond within a 1 to 3 month window. We need to have a first ask, we need to go back and have a second ask, and then we need to deliver. We need to be more flexible, we need to be more agile, and responsiveness is going to be the key for us. I guess I want to say that I feel better about what's going on after these 3 months, because I know that people are giving me an opportunity to come and meet with them one-on-one. They're willing to listen to us, and then they're also helping us with solutions in terms of their ability to go out into our community and to bring others into the fold. One of the benefits of the CEO Summit was that I am going to have follow-up visits with those individuals that I have not met with, but they're also going to be bringing other people to the table. You heard at this particular session a few months ago from the IMORE group, Integrated Marketing, Outreach, Recruitment, and Retention. We need to look at this notion of branding. We need to convince everyone that we are a collective body, that we are 10 colleges under the Maricopa banner, and that what affects one of our colleges affects all of our colleges. And right now, we are still operating in multiple silos, because that is the way we have operated for some 50 years, but we're moving in a direction that will give us a single voice and a single connection point for those out in our community. When that happens, we will be looking at more marketing and public relations, And I had one of the potential individuals that I talked to about some resources tell me that they envision a banner for Maricopa that's at the airport. As we come down, that they would see the Maricopa community colleges there in terms of what we provide to our community, and that we are considered, in fact, the role that we play as a major provider of workforce training. I believe as that starts to occur, and once that occurs, then the nexus between fundraising and other activities that we provide in our district will be expanded in multiple ways. I also now want to move to relationships with our four-year institutions. We, by far, have the largest increase in number of pathway programs that we have ever had with Arizona State University. Dr. Maria Harper-Marinick and staff and I yesterday met with Dr. Crow and his staff, and we have identified now up to 168 programs that map seamlessly back to our colleges, that have now acknowledged an automatic transfer if individuals follow these pathways to the university, that they can move into the Carey School of Business, the Ira Fulton School of Engineering, and we're working on a pathway, a stronger pathway to the Honors College as well. And as we do these, we are trying to ensure this nexus between our students who begin with us, and how can we incent them along this pathway to stay with us in the pathway program and then eventually transfer to our partners. We have strong partners with Arizona State University and with NAU, and now with the changes in healthcare requirements for nursing, with the requirement for the baccalaureate, in many of those areas these partnerships will strengthen. And that also feeds out into the healthcare community, because as I visit with leaders in the healthcare community, we've also talked about how we can sit with their HR people and talk about their needs for medical coders and others, because the landscape is changing. And in order to manage the resources under the Affordable Care Act, you need to know what's coming into your system, what's going out, how do you manage that, and it's built around a structure and a database, but it's built around individuals that not only have technical skills that have been provided through them from training within our environment, but they then need to have those skills of the environment of which they will be working. So as we're talking to our universities now, and we'll be having discussions with University of Arizona, because what we want to do with our 3 public universities is to fill that gap. And the gap is around healthcare pieces, it's around what are the things that the 3 universities are known for, and how can we give our students the best option as best we can as we move forward. And we also have a number of privates that are knocking at our doors that want to be our partners as well. So that conversation has to be managed in our relationship in terms of outcomes for our students. The board has challenged us in the last few years and more recently about placement of our students. I understand and I know that the board wants to have conversation regarding placement. They want us to think about how we can bring students into our environment and provide counseling service, advisement services, so that they have a better sense as to what pathway that they are on, so that they don't waste time, they don't incur debt, and that they can then matriculate from our system and then move into jobs. That's going to be a tough challenge for us to try and look at a 2.5-year, 3-year span, or whatever that period might be, and guarantee a job. But I think we need to have that conversation, and we need to have it with the relationships that we're building with our community individuals around the table. And it, again, gets back to having a more personalized relationship that either occurs within our credit courses at our colleges or a non-credit with the corporate college. Once you build that personal relationship with an individual, again, I think they have a better chance of having a job along the way. So as we begin to look at some of the things that we're doing within our community, one of the takeaways that I have is that many of our community partners don't give to campaigns, but they do give to proposals and grants and activities that further their business in terms of their return on investment. And as we begin to look at our organization, I would like to throw out the mantle that says in order for us to be financially solvent moving forward, there will need to be portions of our institutions that will have a mantle that may say privatized. They may be looking at ways for us to bring resources into the system that we've never thought about. Because even as we have on the agenda today, tuition and property taxes as an information item or just a general discussion around budget, the elasticity of demand for our taxpayers and our students can easily get out of hand. And we need to have an alternative. But in order to have an alternative, we need to think differently. And in order for us to think differently, we need to staff differently. We need to employ individuals with different skill sets, and we need to manage some portions as a business. And I know I may be taken out of this place, drawn and quartered, because they say that education is not a business. But I will challenge all of us that we're being told now that we must figure out a way to find or rebuild that third leg of our stool. And that third leg of our stool will be based upon our ability to become even more effective and more efficient and more flexible and to do business differently. And that brings in our broader community. And let me take a loop back then to our DevEd community. You've had a number of presentations over the last few months that have talked about open education resources, that have also talked about the fact that so many of our students are testing into one or more DevEd courses, that we have students now, as we move to the Arizona College and Career Readiness Standards, need an opportunity to have competency-based testing rather than being placed in a classroom or into a program. But the recognition is that in order for our students to get financial aid, the only way they can do that is to register into a program. They cannot do a competency-based and expect to get any type of resources from the federal government. We had an opportunity a couple of weeks ago to be in D.C. and to speak to our congressional delegation, or those who were still there when the snowstorm came, because we were talking to them about Pell Grants and the fact that Pell Grants have been cut back from 18 semesters to 12 semesters. And that impacts our students. And when you think of 3 out of 5 students that don't have an opportunity for competency-based testing but must go into a classroom, that they are utilizing their financial aid to move from 0-100 developmental ed courses before they get to 100 level courses. By the time they reach there, many of them don't have much of their financial aid left. So we talked about moving it back to 14, if not back to 18. That's going to be a challenge for our students. So the board has asked me earlier in our discussions around outcomes how we can address this notion of developmental education. And part of that conversation will be part of what our discussions will be for budget. And that is to develop a continuum of opportunities for our students that may be at little cost or no cost, but will be based around competency-based testing. Northern Arizona University is currently working with the Higher Learning Commission to sanction competency-based testing at the university level in areas, and I think we need to follow some of the strategies that they're using and provide options for our students so that by the time they are ready, and if they only need fractions, let's sit them in front of a computer, let's have them in our 25 sites around the district, be able to walk in, sit at a computer for a couple of days or with a tutor or an advisor, and then walk out and move into a 100 level course. And then I would proffer to you that what we're spending on the cost side can then be reduced and reallocated elsewhere. So as we begin to have these conversations, I think that it will benefit our business community. I think that it will benefit our community in total. And in terms of our partnerships, moving forward, our future will be defined in relationships that will not discount what has happened with the relationship with the state of Arizona because, and I'll come back to that, because we need them moving forward in terms of accountability and our funding formula. However, we need to strengthen our relationships with public and private partnerships. We need to strengthen our relationship with community-based agencies. We just recently opened up the newest university where we're demonstrating again that public and private can function in the same location. And we're strengthening our relationships in terms of having empowerment zones so that we can bring multiple agencies that are all having difficulties with resources in the same nexus, and maybe even have a petri dish that demonstrates we can have a P20 continuum that can have a bioscience high school, it can have a community college bioscience program, and a university all in the same location. So we need to think about doing business differently. But to close out and to bring in the nexus of the conversation, developmental ed will not be our latest challenge, but performance-based funding moving forward will be a new opportunity for us. We presented to the governor last October performance-based funding for the community colleges. That performance-based funding model came out of a funding grant that we received from Lumina for the state of Arizona some 5 years ago. Now that grant has ended. We are being asked now to go to Lumina in Indianapolis in the end of April and to present the performance-based funding model to the Lumina folks and talk about what has happened in Arizona. I will gladly tell you that Deborah Thompson and other CFOs within the state helped build that performance-based funding model. It's built around approximately 30-plus metrics, outcomes metrics. 6 of those will be used in the performance-based funding model, and those are outcomes metrics that are non-traditional to what the state has funded in the past. We will no longer be looking at being funded at 45th day count. We'll be looked at for the number of students that we can move through the pipeline, progression through developmental education, progression through a certificate, progression through the Arizona General Education curriculum of 35 credit hours and or an associate degree, and transfer to the university. So those will be elements, and historically we have been measured on how many students transfer or how many students graduate. That is not our population. So as we go to Lumina, we will talk about productivity increases. The MAP program pathway is a productivity grant for us within the state of Arizona. As we begin to look at what's going on now with other activities in terms of this performance-based funding model, we will, Deborah Thompson and I and others will have an opportunity to talk about what our expectations of the outcomes model. But it will also mean that we will need to do business differently within our district. We will need to have closer relationships with our faculty. We will need to have closer relationships with our students, and we will need to manage them for their success. But then in the end, we would hope that it would provide us some resources that would move us forward. So in closing, what I would like to share with the board, that as you look at the opportunities and the challenges that face us, we are involved in our largest capital campaign ever. We are an institution that has made a number of adjustments over the next few years. But as we're driven by the board outcomes and the board goals, we will make whatever decisions are necessary in order for us to provide services to our students. But I will also leave you with this. We are a large institution. 260,000 students this day. The question that I ask you, and as the economy starts to grow again, how large is large? And at what point in time is that economies of scale tipping to a point that we are looking as we were 3 or 4 years ago, and we're still involved in where we have possibly as many part-time as we have full-time, and where is the issues around quality? And we need to make sure that everything we do is focused on student success and quality outcomes and the expectations of our community, our business community, and our broader community, and what will happen in terms of our ability to sustain ourselves moving forward. And I think we can survive, but I think we can thrive if we choose to address our challenges in an open manner. And with that, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, members of the board, I will open for any questions you might have, and I recognize that I have extended that with a long-winded comments here.
I appreciate your the half an hour you gave us. Any other questions? Thank you.
They're speechless? I mean, are you? I guess I should be grateful and sit down.
Hold that thought, because that won't last. We'd like to move on now to the reason we're all here, and that is our students. I'd like to introduce Mr. Herschel Jackson and the students from Australia Mountain Community College Student Life. Are they available?
Good evening, President Czar, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, and distinguished guests. My name is Brittany Quidang, and today I have with me Ariane McDonald, Jocelyn Gutierrez, and Vicki Weeks.
The Office of Student Life and Leadership is the headquarters to 20 active clubs and organizations on campus. Some examples are the International Student Leadership Organization, Black Student Union, Male Empowerment Network, MECHA, and the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, which you will be hearing from tonight. By being an active member, students are engaged in interests outside the classroom, have the opportunity to network with faculty, staff, and other students, participate in community outreach and service learning projects, and of course, remain focused on their academic studies.
In order to support continuous leadership development opportunities, the Office of Student Life and Leadership is committed to sponsoring campus events. While club events often include valuable fundraisers, as you can see to the left, the student life events are geared more towards engaging student participation outside the classroom. Many uninvolved students are become unaware, they're not fully aware of what our office has to offer, which is why we have Student Appreciation Day once a semester. Now, it's pretty obvious, and I'm sure all of you can agree with me when I say that college students love free food. So for Student Appreciation Day, we reel in the students with free food, and then we enlighten them with all of the amazing resources and services our department has to offer. Coming up, we'll be hosting our Spring Fling and our Clubs and Orgs banquet. Heritage Months are also very exciting for our campus because the entire campus gets involved, which is amazing. And we recently had a very successful conference, MLK Luncheon for Black History Month, and we will be having our Black History Conference tomorrow. For next month, for Women's History Month, we will be holding our annual Women's Conference on Saturday, March 22nd, if you want to mark that in your calendars. In October of last year, I was offered the opportunity to lead and coordinate the Love Your Body Week. My intentions were to utilize my personal life experiences to render social change and awareness. These are a few pictures you can see from the event. This inspirational event consisted of multiple workshops, panel discussions, forums, and events, all with the common theme of body image issues, media's unrealistic standards, and learning how to love, accept, and respect yourself and your body. The results, these are another few pictures from the event. You can see on that poster board, we had students take Polaroids. It was so inspirational, just kind of writing what they love about themselves. And then we had the Militant Baker. She's a controversial, motivational public speaker. You can see it's the pictures that she takes. So the results were remarkable. As you can see by the stats under agree and strongly agree, we had a lot of students who were deeply moved by this event, including myself.
In addition to our club and campus events, the Coffee Talk series was implemented last January to bridge the gap between our students and our administration. During every first Friday of every month, we invite our college administration and our students to discuss their issues, their questions or concerns. This feedback is very important to give a voice to our students and make a change, with one donut in one hand and a cup of joe in the other.
The purpose of forums is to address student concerns and issues in a constructive setting where all input is valued. These are just a few examples of the forums that we've had in the past, and upcoming for this semester, we have a sexual awareness forum and emergency preparedness forum.
The fitness and wellness portion of student life has continued to provide resources for our students. This includes, but not limited to, the walk and jog routes founded at Estrella Mountain Community College, the continuation of our intramural sports, flag football, soccer, and this semester, volleyball. In addition, our fitness and wellness programs implemented a new program called Chow Shares and aims to receive 1,000 responses for the student exercise survey.
Our new student orientations have been revamped. And they are now more effective than ever. One of the key components to this transformation is how we present the orientation. We used to just tell students it's mandatory, you have to go, sorry. But now we decided that it's way more important to highlight the benefits of attending your new student orientation. For instance, attending your orientation is beneficial for your overall success as a student because you will be provided with information on all of the amazing resources and services Estrella has to offer. We also now have students register online, keep them engaged with activities during the session, and there is an online video orientation in the making for those students who are unable to attend the in-person orientations. As we mentioned before, one of our active organizations is Phi Theta Kappa, and we'll be now passing it over to them.
Good evening, President Saar, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC, and guests. My name is Jocelyn Gutierrez, and I am from Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. Service to our campus, community, and fellow students is a key part of our success. We are a distinguished chapter from 2010, 2012, and 2013. We also earned the top 100 chapter status 4 times in the last 5 years, and we have had a 5-star performance since 1995. Our college project is just one example of how we support our college's mission of student success. Lack of finances and increasing student debt are often barriers to college completion and successful transfer. One way to address that need is with scholarships. Yet students tell us they are uncertain about how to find scholarships or successfully compete for them. Beta Alpha Xi worked with President Lara and financial aid to develop an outreach project that would raise student awareness of scholarship options, increase student success in obtaining them, and ultimately have a positive impact on completion rates. To explain more, I would like to introduce Vicki Weeks.
Our first strategy was to take an existing scholarship workshop and expand its reach by promoting more frequent sessions during times that were more convenient for students. As you can see by our results, intensified efforts reached a significantly larger student audience. Despite our efforts, however, many students found that the scholarship process was challenging and they asked for hands-on assistance. Our fall relocation to a larger Phi Theta Kappa office allowed us to install student workstations and begin peer mentoring fellow students in scholarship search and application techniques last October. Initial results were encouraging, but limited project time did not allow us to mentor as many students as we had hoped or assess their progress. We plan to promote workshop sessions and mentoring into 2014 while assessing scholarship success. Results will be shared to help build more effective strategies for scholarship outreach. I would like to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good job, students. I'm really proud of you. Because this is a college in my district, and I'm really proud of the students. I really like your new orientation. That's so important. We thought the mandatory was really necessary, and I see you playing around with that. I think you have the ear of the students, so we really appreciate the changes and improvement in that. Thank you.
Next, we'd like to award or recognize some of our retiring faculty and others. Dr. Irene Kovala, you have a presentation for an Emeritus Distinction Award. Two of them, actually.
President Saar, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC, and honored guests. It's my privilege tonight to present to the board the recommendation for two outstanding faculty who retired in this last year as Emeritus of Maricopa County Community Colleges. The first is Dr. Stephen Williams, Professor of Biology at GCC for 32 years. His distinguished service has had far-reaching and long-term impact. In addition to teaching 5 different biology courses, Dr. Williams received numerous educational development grants and awards that helped to design novel instructional strategies and resources. He also worked in a variety of capacities to foster pre-college STEM education. Dr. Williams served as department chair for 22 years. Under his leadership, the department added several exemplary programs and faculties to its ranks, and slowly but surely grew enrollment and offerings. Dr. Williams was also instrumental in designing the forward-thinking instructional facilities both at GCC North, where his handprint is known everywhere, as well as our Life Science building, which is award-winning. From 2006 to 2008, Dr. Williams filled in for GCC's Dean of Instruction, so he had a taste for the administration. Perhaps one of his most significant achievements was his analysis of room utilization and optimal class scheduling to utilize and accommodate the needs of students, faculty, and the college. We're delighted that you might consider Dr. Williams as an emeritus faculty. The other is Dr. Carmela Arnault, faculty in English. Professor Carmela Arnault's extensive contributions during her long service with the Maricopa County Community College District clearly warrant the designation of her emeritus status. In terms of the English department, she taught for 21 years, and for many years the only person in the department to teach the intellectually valuable and demanding English 216, which is persuasive writing on public issues. She further enriched the academic lives of her students through her English 230 Introduction to Shakespeare class. Beyond simply teaching honors classes, her commitment to GCC honors programs in general helped to make that program a success. On a college-wide level, Professor Arnault served as the chair of the English department from 2007 to 2009, and as a faculty senate president in other senatorial capacities for many years, filling various roles which often led her to district-level concerns. As further proof of the high esteem in which Professor Arnault was held, she was given the responsibility of co-writing the college's submission for the HLC accreditation visit in 2002. In conclusion, Carmela Arnault's contributions to the district in many venues and on many levels certainly indicate the award of emeritus. Unfortunately, neither of them could be with us this evening. They both send their regrets, but they are deeply honored by this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Citizens Interim. The board offers opportunity for members of the public to address the governing board. In compliance with Arizona's open meeting law, the governing board will neither discuss nor take action on issues raised during this portion of the agenda. When necessary, issues will be taken up under advisement and placed on a subsequent agenda. Obviously, some of the discussion tonight will be on the agenda, and we'll be able to talk about it at that time. First on the list is Mr. Mario Diaz.
My name is Mario Diaz. I reside at 9301 East Adobe Drive, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85255. Mr. President, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, faculty, staff, and the Chancellor's executive team, and a special congratulations to my friend Alfredo Gutierrez on your appointment. Some may know that I'm a candidate for one of the 2 at-large seats for the governing board that may or may not occur in November. And since October of last year, I've traveled this county. I've met with almost every one of your fabulous presidents. I've met with the presidents of the Senate, faculty. More importantly, I've met with the students. And I've also currently am traveling to every high school governing board meeting across the county to introduce myself, because I think it's important for our clients, future clients, to understand that they have a friend on the board. So this is an investment of my time, and I'm not asking for mileage reimbursement, as some do. Mr. President, I know you know this, but the team here at Maricopa County Community College team is, to use a word from back in my Los Angeles Valley days, is awesome, and they're so respected. But things can be better. Tonight I want to express my thoughts on 2 items. One of my campaign pillars is transparency. And like thousands of Maricopa County residents who read today's article about the breach, I was very disappointed. I had to go to the Arizona Republic's website to download the letter that one of the district's vendors sent to all the attorneys general's offices. In the district's website, unless I'm missing something, there are 3 sentences about this issue. This to me is not right. We need to be more open. We need to be more transparent within the boundaries of confidentiality. Number 2, I want to be on record tonight that I oppose this $5 tuition increase. And let me tell you why. I've met with so many people across this county, our neighbors, our friends, and people are still financially strapped. Someone may say, look, Mario, it's only $150 extra. Well, if you divide $150 by a minimum wage of $7.90, that's an extra 20 hours of work for a person. And that's if they have a job. Some of these students don't have jobs. Some of these parents are just very, very tight financially. Let me go back to the $14 million that this board approved a couple of months ago, not Mr. Gutierrez. That $14 million represents nearly 6,000 students for a 30-hour, 1-year tuition. 6,000. That's at $14 million is almost enough to pay for our priority needs. I don't know where that money's coming from, and I don't know if the public or the taxpayers know. Is it coming from the general fund? Is it coming from our rainy day fund? Why isn't it coming from our rainy day fund? There's a lot of questions. The average family doesn't care if our tuition is less than ASU's, or it's less than the East Coast, or it's less than the West Coast. They don't live in comparisons. They live in today. And I am asking you, Mr. President and board members, to please consider that times are still tough. And we should try to think out of the box. One of the presidents here at his office has a book that says Think Out of the Box. And I'm glad to have heard Chancellor Glasper talk about things like the airport, because one of the presidents mentioned that to me. I'd love to see Maricopa County Community College banner at the airport. I'm glad he's thinking out of the box, and he has been. He's a great leader. But I know that more can be done. And the next few months, I'll be putting my ideas forth on my campaign website, marioediaz.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, representing the Arizona Hispanic Community Forum, is Rosie Lopez.
President Azar, and this one here, President Azar, members of the board, I am here tonight to talk about the IT issue, and what he said, what Mario said was very true. I am disappointed too, and I've been here twice already to talk to you about this. I will give you numbers to tell you the truth about the following behaviors exhibited by the district administration on lack of transparency with the public, possible cover-up of major security events affecting our community, lack of accountability at the very top of this administration, scapegoating, retaliation against loyal employees, waste of taxpayer dollars, and the Chancellor's unwillingness to act on a vast amount of information regarding mismanagement, hostile environment, and early warnings For 2 months, the press and other media outlets had been stonewalled by the district regarding public record requests. There were at least 4 people in IT who had firsthand knowledge of the Stott and Louis report in early 2011, including the Vice Chancellor of IT, George Kakagan. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but anyway, check your inbox, please. Maricopa waited again 7 months in 2013 to notify the public after being contacted by the FBI. Compare this to the 2 to 4 weeks it took to handle a similar situation in 2011. Maricopa left servers compromised for at least 9 months after the 2011 incidents and before the oversight report from Earl M. was filed in November 2011. These servers might have been the exact same servers that were compromised in April 2013, which means the district never replaced them. Over 12 people sent letters to the Chancellor in 2012 alone warning him about IT issues, including security. Acting on these letters could have saved the district millions of dollars and avoided the 2013 security incident. Over 13 letters were sent to the Chancellor in 2012 warning him of mismanagement of the IT projects, misuse of funds, risks to the institutions, and alerting him to review reports filed by ITS which contained information about critical and high-impact security issues. Over $14 million were spent so far in out-of-state lawyers in just a few months. This is terrible. This is the current total without any lawsuits in the mix yet, and there are lawsuits. On the 15th of September 2012, an IT grievance was filed alerting of security threats and mismanagement. It has been 19 months since Linda Brown from our organization came in front of this board calling for an investigation, and why hasn't something been done? On the 21st of March of 2011, George Kakajan notified MCCCD of a major security incident. On the 21st of April 2011, Maricopa published on the web the ITS operational plan for fiscal year 2011 to 2012, appointing Mr. Rod Martin in charge of enterprise security, not Mr. Corzo or Mr. Mansour, who are employees here and experts in this field. On the 26th of November 2013, the Chancellor's contract was renewed by the board, and on the 27th of November, coincidentally, or is it, the public was notified of the 2013 breach on 11/27. And was it a coincidence or not? Excuse me. Attrition rates of over 50% left its ITS exposed, having lost the majority of institutional knowledge. The department went from 120 employees to 60 to 70 permanent employees, yet the board approved over $27 million in new IT projects since the FBI first notified the MCCCD of the 2013 incident in April. Over $100 million the NCCD may have to spend on this security fiasco if it has to settle a class action lawsuit for millions of students. How many faculty and staff positions will the mismanagement of this event cost? 1.5 billion? Possibly. The bond election? Possibly. And the cost to Maricopa for losing public trust? The press and the TV channels are being denied information they need to report the truth. Where is the transparency here? Who are you trying to protect, or who are they trying to protect? Employees were accused of being denied the very same information they need to defend themselves. New policies were created. New policy was created in 2013 under the direction of Mr. Bowers, acting VC of HR, to fire employees, I'm quoting, fire, quote, unquote, employees, quote, not doing enough, unquote, and underperformance. Maricopa has never defined what performance is. How can you create new policy and apply it retroactively to an event that took place 2 years ago? MCCCD needs to stop the bullying and intimidation here. This is retaliation and harassment, and it could cost MCCCD millions of dollars in damages. This district has failed to recognize a very basic management principle. It is about the people, not about you guys, not about the administration, but about the people. The very same people that tried to warn this district of this mess are the ones being blamed for this fiasco. I don't know how they could blame us, but that would probably happen too. The very same people this district has relied on for years are now leaving the organization in droves, complaining of retaliation, fear in the workplace, scapegoating, and harassment. How can that be allowed to happen by this board? Who is going to be held accountable for harassment, retaliation, and scapegoating of employees? Why haven't you, the board, acted on the information provided? And I exclude board member Alfredo Gutierrez because he was not here at the time, but I hope that he will act on it too. I am here today to ask you once again to take action. This is my second visit, and you have done nothing. This is my second visit in terms of this issue. I have been here many, many other times. And you, the board, have done nothing with this. You asked for documents, they were provided. You asked for information, we have presented it to you. You needed facts, they are in your inbox. We have provided you with plenty of evidence. What else do you need to take action? Who are you afraid of? Certainly not the chancellor or the people that work for you. They work for you. You are in charge. I urge you to place Dr. Glasper on administrative leave for retaliation and scapegoating. I urge you to place Mr. Bowers on administration leave for lack of integrity and mistreatment of employees, and hire your own independent counsel. Let go of expensive out-of-state lawyers and consultants that cost us millions of dollars, and keep our taxpayer dollars in our community instead. Stop all disciplinary actions, harassment and retaliation against the IT employees that try to save the district from this fiasco. It is time for a change. Our community needs this board to take action. There are serious financial ramifications for doing nothing. Faculty positions have to be cut, staff positions eliminated, bond elections delayed, bond ratings impacted, taxes increased, and I hope not, but you're talking about tuitions raised. And I will talk about that when you call me again, or if I can do it after this. And most importantly, the public's trust eroded. How much more evidence do you, the board, need? Stop wasting taxpayer dollars and start changing this organization from the very top down. I strongly believe that our state attorney general should start an investigation now. Thank you for listening, and for the sake of those who appointed you, please take some action this time around. We do not want to repeat this and what happened at Pima Community College. Thank you. Now, shall I talk about the other? Okay, what I want to say about the other, and I know you've seen me before.
I know, just if you can limit it to 3 or 4 minutes, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, it'll be less than that. I just want to make a point on this one. You know I've been here before talking about student tuition a lot of times. I do not believe that student tuition should be raised. And Mario Diaz said it very well. And sometimes we don't agree on a lot of things, but on this one we do agree that our people cannot afford this tuition increase. And especially because I read it in the Republic, and it talks about and I'll quote this from the Arizona Republic. Today, the district governing board will hear a proposal to increase tuition by $5 per credit hour. The agenda for the board meeting states that revenue from the tuition increase would, in part, pay for fraud prevention and mitigation, unquote. That means to me that the students are actually paying for the mismanagement and the incompetency of this administration. I think you need to reflect on that and decide that why should the students pay for this fiasco? They should not pay for it. And I hope that you will not vote for that increase. That is really a travesty for the students. We already, the out-of-state students were paying $317, and they were even dropping out like flies. Well, they will drop out again. You keep raising that tuition, that is really terrible on students. They have no money. Some of them don't have jobs. Just as Mario said, the parents can't afford it. You have to think of the students, not about the administration. I know you can find the money. If you don't find the money anywhere else, take it away from your administrators. They get plenty of money, and demote them if you have to, so that you can make sure that the students are taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. Is Linda Brown?
I will give you a copy by name.
Thank you. Linda Brown in the audience? Okay, no. Moving on to the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve the formal agenda?
I so move.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda as changed. Is there all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion passes unanimously. The consideration of the consent agenda items. Does anyone wish to remove any of the items from this consent agenda?
Move approval.
Motion has been made to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded. All those in favor of the consent agenda as posted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Under the non-consent agenda items, first is consideration of approval of electrical and mechanical maintenance trainers at Estrella Mountain Community College. I believe Dr. Harper Marinick, this is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Saar. Members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, with this item on behalf of Estrella Mountain Community College, we ask that you approve the purchase of the equipment to support the energy program that provides essential job training for future energy industry employees. The recommended trainers will provide students with the opportunity to gain extensive lab experiences on actual equipment that is found in the power plants and generating stations that they'll be hired to work for. You have the budget for the equipment, and you also have the budget for the grant, which is how the purchase will be funded.
I move we approve the electronic maintenance, mechanical maintenance trainers at Estrella Mountain Community College.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Just a question. This is part of that grant that the Chancellor talked about earlier.
Yes, Mr. Saar.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the approval of consultant selection for the new integrated learning building and remodel of existing space at the Black Mountain campus of Paradise Valley Community College. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is one of Paradise Valley's major 2004 capital development program projects, and it will be the start of building out the second phase at the Black Mountain campus. And this is to approve architectural and engineering consulting services so that the college can move forward at a later date with construction of the new facility.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the approval of the consultant selection for the new integrated learning building and remodel of existing space at the Black Mountain campus of Paradise Valley Community College. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Under Human Resources, the approval of the fiscal year 14-15 healthcare funding. Mr. Bowers.
Good evening. President Saar, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC. This item has to do with the fiscal year 14-15 healthcare funding, and with this item it's recommended to the board that you consider and approve the Employee Benefits Advisory Committee's recommendation for the implementation of the Flex Credit Benefit Proposal, which will be effective on July 1st of this year. The proposal consists of the following. The actuarial projections for the 14-15 plan from our consultants indicate that we will need an additional $4.7 million to fund medical claims next year. Included in that is a little over $1 million in fees attributable to the Affordable Care Act. The Employee Benefits Advisory Committee has reviewed several options with their respective employee groups to assist with selecting the preferred plan design for us moving forward. We will, in 14-15, we recommend to continue with the Wellness Incentive Program, which was implemented last year, again with the expectation in the future of lowering future claims due to early detection and prevention. EBAC is requesting an increase of $648,000 from the board needed to fund a portion of medical claims cost increase for our self-insured plan. The remaining slightly over $4 million will be funded by plan design changes, which pass costs on to employees utilizing the plan, and there also is a slight premium increase for the buy-up plan as well. The following policies will apply to the allocation of flex credits funding for employees: our full-time employees, including our .75 to 1.0 FTEs, our OSOs, OYOs, board-approved positions, and employees qualifying for coverage due to ACA requirements. For those folks, flex credits will be determined by the tier of medical coverage that they select, with equal amounts of flex credits applied to both the buy-up and the core plans, and flex credits will remain at $2,000 annually paid to those who waive medical coverage. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Your motion?
So move.
Second.
Motions have made and seconded. Discussion. Just we're still under Blue Cross Blue Shield, the administrator, correct on this?
The Blue Cross or Blue Shield are the providers that we purchase their medical. They're the company through which we purchase our medical provider network. They don't actually administer the plan. They are not the TPA, and one of the items tonight has to do with actually selecting a new TPA. But we utilize the Blue Cross Blue Shield network.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. On the same subject, approval of Flex Benefit Program, RFP 3218-4, the Pharmaceutical Benefit Management. Powers.
President Saar, members of the board, with this item, we are requesting that the board approve the Employee Benefit Advisory Committee's recommendation for the implementation of a new contract with Humana Pharmacy Solutions to manage our pharmaceutical benefit program for fiscal year 14-15. The projected annual cost for the pharmaceutical administrative services is $59,568. The total plan cost for our pharmaceuticals for the previous plan year was around $7 million. This is a result of RFP 3218-4. We do go out every 5 years for a provider, and based upon scoring, final interviews, and pricing, an award to Humana Pharmacy Solutions is being recommended by the Employee Benefits Advisory Committee. I'm happy to answer any questions.
We hear a motion?
I move we approve this item.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I keep asking the questions, but I was under this program up until recently when I became old enough to get the government to pay for my health care, but we were online, or actually by mail, right, in the previous pharmaceutical program?
Yes, we do have a mail order program for maintenance medications, absolutely.
So we still have that ability to get the multiple month orders?
Absolutely, and we're expecting some improvements in regard to customer service related to that exact item, yes.
Well, having ordered gel caps in 115 degrees, I had one big gel cap, and it probably wouldn't have.
You're just supposed to chip off.
All right. Good suggestion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Again, number 3, the approval of Flex Benefit Program RFP 3236-4, Group Medical Benefit Administrator. Mr. Bowers.
Yes, President Saar, members of the board, with this item, we are recommending that the governing board consider and approve an award and implementation under RFP 3236-4 for a medical third-party administrator, which I just referred to earlier, to Maritain Health. The estimated cost savings in going with a new third-party administrator under this RFP is estimated to be 13% over what we spent last year for our TPA services. Maritain Health has also offered a 2-year rate cap on medical administrative fees. Again, this was subject to an RFP, and based on the scoring, final interviews, and pricing, an award to Maritain Health has been recommended by the administration.
Thank you. Do we hear a motion?
I move for approval.
Second?
Second.
Motion has been made and second for the approval of Flex Benefit Program RFP 3236-4, Group Medical Benefit Administrator. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on, the Chancellor has an item for the approval of a memorandum of understanding between the Maricopa County Community College District and the City of Tempe. Dr. Glasper.
Mr. Saar, members of the board, it is recommended that the governing board approve the attached memorandum of understanding to formally commence discussions with the City of Tempe about the development of a corporate college facility on land owned by the City of Tempe. Once we have completed this discussion, then any recommendation would then come back to the board for their consideration.
Do I hear a motion?
I move we approve this item.
Second?
Second.
Motion has been made and second to approve a memorandum of understanding between the Maricopa County Community College District and the City of Tempe. Any questions by the board?
Well, I'd like to. Go ahead. Sorry. I'd like to thank Dr. Gino Vanini for a creative idea of partnering with the City of Tempe and adding to the Arts Center. I know this is a discussion item only. We're still looking into it. So I'm excited about to see the progress on it and see if we can come to some kind of agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I support the item as well, but I want to be clear that I believe this should not be an exclusive item. This should not preclude the district from having discussions with any other political subdivision. Discussions with Tempe should go forward, but I think that there's potentially other extraordinary opportunities, and secondly, there's something to be said for competition. So as long as it is clear that my sporting vote is, because it is not exclusive, and that Tempe understand that, and they won't feel that there has been a breach of trust if conversations begin with another political subdivision.
Mr. Jim?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to also second Mr. Lum's comments and also tell, is it still President? President Giovannini. Well, that I am incredibly impressed with the approach that he's engaged in and the manner in which this has come together and the creativity, and just very, very impressed. Thank you.
Anything?
No, I'm going to vote yes.
Okay.
Hurry up and vote.
I know. I got to say something. I say the same thing that the others have said too. I think the location that this is just going to be a discussion about is worthy of discussion, and this memorandum will allow our administrators, in particular Dr. Giovannini, to be a little bit more have more clout behind the discussion. So I appreciate that. And I think we'll have more about the community college and the progress you're making at a future board meeting, so we look forward to that as well.
But if any other city wants to make a good offer for us, I'm afraid to say we'll consider it.
Say howdy.
All right. Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to informational items. We want to review the proposed fee changes for the 2014 and 15 budget. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, February marks the first opportunity for the district administration to present to the board information on tuition and fees, proposed course fees, as well as the budget. In March, we asked the board to take action on the proposed tuition and fee schedule as well as the proposed course fee schedule, and we also present a preliminary proposed budget as information. In April, we asked the board to preliminarily adopt the proposed budget, setting an upper limit on the size of the budget. In May, we published the budget and truth and taxation notices, as is required by Arizona statute, and then at the end of May, we seek final budget adoption as well as a roll call vote on the proposed 2% increase in the existing levy. For the item before you right now, this is an information item. It is on proposed course fee changes for fiscal 14-15. There's quite a lot of detail for all of the proposed changes. In sum, there are 91 new course fees proposed by the colleges, 189 increased course fees, and 125 reduced or eliminated fees, with a net potential impact of $242,076.
I know at our meeting earlier this month, we spent a lot of time on this. It's a meeting that is much less formal, but we get a chance as a board to ask a lot of questions of administrators and bring the requests from the public that we talk to the discussion to make sure that all views are heard. So even though this is not a vote tonight, we've had discussion already. We will have further discussion. March 4th is our next agenda review. We'll discuss the next opportunity for this that Ms. Thompson talked about in the sequence of things. So we invite you all to be there if you're interested in listening to that discussion. Next on the agenda is review of the proposed tuition and fees for the 2014-2015 budget. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, the major change that is part of this tuition and fee schedule is the proposed tuition rate for next year, which is proposed to be $86 a credit hour, or $2,580 for students taking 30 credit hours, which is generally considered the full-time load for the year. This reflects a proposed increase of $5 a credit hour, or $150 for students a year for students taking 30 credit hours, and it's the fourth increase that has been requested and might be approved in the 8 years since the Great Recession started. At this time, I will ask Gay Murphy, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Business Services, to provide some context for the resources we project are available without any revenue increases, as well as the revenue increases we're proposing, and then priority needs that we're proposing to be funded by these resources. We also will have 2 additional presentations that will follow Gay's overview. Ed Kelty will provide some detail on the IT needs that we think exist that require resources, and Felicia Ganther will follow up with information on the seamless student experience as well as the Student Success Initiative. Okay.
Thank you very much. President Saar, Governing Board members, Chancellor Glasper, CEC members, and guests. Thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you this evening. As we look to the impact of the recession for the past several years, that's been a large topic of conversation. We've made cuts to our general operating fund. We lost 90% of our state tax support, which includes all of our capital state aid support, or about $11 million. We're starting to see now a very small uptick in new construction, but we really remain pretty far below the $17 million high point that we saw during the housing boom. For property tax rates and tuition rates, we've had 3 increases over the past 6 years. We've continued to move forward on some new initiatives, but an awful lot of our work is being done through process improvements with a focus on setting priorities through internal reallocation. So unfortunately, those that were predicting a slow recovery from the recession were right. It's kind of hard to complain because our resources are no longer dropping like a rock, but it's still pretty frustrating in trying to come back. We've submitted state funding request that would provide $11 million in our capital for science, technology, engineering, and math, but neither the governor nor the legislature have supported the additional funding in their budget recommendations. It's not final yet. The legislature's still in session. The route now, I think, is to see if there's any interest in special legislation, but we'll just have to see. So for fiscal year 2008, the college has enrolled about 68,000 full-time equivalent students. By 2011, we had grown to 84,500, an increase of 16,000 students. If state aid had kept pace instead of being cut, we would have about $1,000 per footsie, and that's about $16 million more over that period of time per year. Enrollment increase wasn't completely unexpected. We kind of see that cyclically. When the economy starts to suffer, we see folks turn to us for new training, for acquisition of skills that will make them more employable. And as the economy has slowly recovered, we are seeing an enrollment decline. So for fiscal year 14, we think we should have enrollments just under 80,000 footsie. So this pie chart shows a budget for the current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 13-14. Next month, I'll present a plan to you for the budget for fiscal year 14-15, which will begin July 1st. We budget across 4 major funds: the general fund, auxiliary, restricted, and plant fund. This chart shows the resources going to all of these funds. The general fund is where we support our day-to-day operating activities. Auxiliary funds provide fee-for-service activities. Restricted funds is where we account for gifts and grants and special use, things like federal financial aid, which is restricted in purpose. And finally, we have the plant fund, which includes the large-scale capital maintenance and construction and equipment purchases. Most of our plant fund really is supported by bond activity, bond proceeds. So we'll bring you the fiscal year 15 budget as an information item at the March board meeting. But right now I wanted to talk a little bit more about our general operating fund. That's the one that supports most of the employee salaries, expenditures to operate the day-to-day activities of the colleges, utilities, supplies, travel, all of those sorts of things. And it was interesting to me, just kind of a factoid in looking at this, the Salt River Project pays support to the Maricopa Community College District in lieu of property taxes that it would conceivably pay if it were a private business. And the $8.6 million that we receive from the Salt River Project in lieu payment, we show that with the property taxes. So for the current year, the Maricopa Community Colleges will receive greater support from SRP than the state of Arizona. In developing the budget for the fiscal year 14-15, the governing board sets tuition and fees. We've provided an information item to you at this meeting. The board also sets property tax rates within the constitutional limits and according to the process and timetable laid out in state law. We received our assessed valuation a little earlier this month on February 10th. One thing we don't know yet is the in lieu support from SRP, and we should receive that shortly. Both the governor and the legislature have proposed the same amount of state aid, so there really isn't a whole lot for us to discuss at this time. The only additional possible state item that's been discussed is possibly capital for STEM, but that's not really on the books at this time. In looking at a primary impact of the recession was felt in the over $60 million that we lost in state aid funding between 2008-9 and 2011-12. The enrollment decline that happened in fiscal year 13 will produce another state aid reduction of about $500,000 for next year because it lags 2 years. State support lags 2 years. So although the state budget's final, again, the governor and the legislature are both looking at $7.4 million recommendation for state aid, so there's probably not going to be much more discussion, at least this year. With the funds used for major maintenance, library books, and equipment, when we lost that capital state aid, we've been really put in a situation where we're looking at extending our operating funds to sort of pay for those capital needs because we really don't have an ongoing equipment replacement type fund source available. But we continue to go forward as best we can. In terms of looking at another impact of the recession is the decline in the growth of taxes from new property. At one time, we received as much as $18 million at the height of the housing boom, and we're now down to about $8.6 million. But it is an increase over last year, and it's a sign that the economy is starting to come back, and that's a good thing. In looking at the historic assessed valuation, the information we received recently from the Maricopa County Assessor's Office, we are up 4.8% in primary net assessed values and 8.8% in the secondary valuation. These valuations that we use for tax purposes lag 2 years, so it's really kind of taken us a while past the recession to see an upturn. So this really is the first uptick that we've seen since 2009. The primary assessed values went from about $32 billion to $33.5 billion. Not a huge increase, but it is an increase, and that is good news. So in looking at the property tax, let me explain a little bit about that. Under this example, a house that's valued at $100,000 in fiscal year 14 would pay about $128.96. In order to keep that cost the same, keep the resources the same for Maricopa next year, the governing board would need to decrease the property tax rate because the assessed value increased. Okay? So that if the governing board, however, would approve a 2% increase in the tax levy, the homeowner that paid $128.96 this year, next year would pay $131.54, a difference of $2.58. If we're talking about a $200,000 home, the impact basically is double. The tax would go from $257.92 to $263.07, a difference of $5.15. Turning now to tuition, Maricopa has traditionally been below the average of public two-year institutions, both in the western United States as well as nationally. But we have seen a definite trend in tuition rate growth. Since 2007, when the economy started to falter, the governing board has increased tuition 3 times, 2009, 12, and 14. Presented as an information item this month and as an action item next month, the proposed $5 credit hour rate would go from $81 to $86 per credit hour. A student taking 30 credit hours over an academic year would pay $2,580. We would still remain below the public two-year colleges in the West as well as nationally. It's an increase of $150 per year, or 6.2%. From new property and other net adjustments, we think we'll start out with about $5 million. So yes, we do think we're going to get about $8.5 million in additional property taxes from new construction, but we have experienced a decline in enrollments, and that produced a reduction in revenues from tuition and fees, from bookstore revenues. Also, we have a loss of state aid of $500,000. So we're asking the board to consider a $5 per credit hour tuition increase, and we've also shown a 2% increase in the tax levy. That would get us to about $25.6 million in new available resources. As far as the resource needs go, we've been working this year with the Financial Advisory Council to narrow down from a long list a number of priority needs. But we're still over $20 million and counting. When we present the budget to you next month as an information item, we will be working to provide a balanced presentation. Some of these priority needs really are going to be mandatory items. When ASRS, the state retirement system, increases the employer contribution rate, we have to pay that rate. We also have a limited number of adjustments in employee pay manual that are identified in policy. That would be for things like educational adjustments, anniversary payments. We're also, the board had requested when we began the 2004 bond program that we set aside enough money to open and operate these new buildings that we were building. And we do have an additional need that would go to support buildings like the Coyote Center, like the new building at Black Mountain coming online. So the rest of the items, we'll be working to make very hard decisions to prioritize what we think we can do within the resources available. And honestly, we may not be able to do everything on this list. We're going to be looking at reducing, scaling back, maybe deferring some items. But when we come back to you next month, we will be providing a balanced budget. But for some of these high priority needs, I really wanted to defer to some of our content experts, our IT experts, and also Felicia Ganther, who's very knowledgeable about the SSE and SSI and the other student affairs activities. So I think Ed and... okay. I'm good.
Mr. President, members of the board, CEC members, and guests, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you tonight and give you an overview of ITS. My name is Edward Kelty. I'm the co-CIO of the district office's IT department, as well as the CIO for Rio Salado College.
And I'm Sasan Pratizade, co-CIO and also VP of IT at Mesa Community College.
We want to spend a few minutes tonight giving you a little update on some of the initiatives that are going on in ITS, some of the items that we're looking to continue upgrading and move forward that have been started in the past, and some of the funding requirements to make that happen. I wanted to spend a minute and give a little history on our large ERP systems. We have 4 of them currently in our district. They handle all the backbone for a lot of what goes on. Our financial system called CFS, which is an Oracle product. Our human resources system, which is a PeopleSoft product, our student information system, and our budget development system. I just want to make sure everyone's clear that back in 2005, Oracle bought PeopleSoft, but they keep the names a little separate, so that sometimes it's a little confusing. If you've ever had a piece of software on your computer, like Microsoft Word or anything else, you know that there are patches that come out to different software packages every year. Every few years there are large upgrades, and occasionally they actually stop one piece of software for another. Fortunately, in most cases, the newer versions of software have some better functionality and things that we're always looking to improve our security for all of Maricopa, which includes things like encryption and data masking. So we're at a point now with our large ERP systems that our SIS systems need to be replaced. They're out of support. I've come to the board once already to ask for additional money for support last year to keep them going through this year. And that's an item that needs to occur. HRMS needs to be re-implemented and reset up to support the new comp and class study that's coming through the system. Oracle is no longer supporting our financial system CFS. It'll actually go out of complete support in late 2015. And so we need to not only upgrade that, but replace it, because Oracle doesn't make that product anymore. They have a new product in that line. And our budget development system, BDS, needs to be replaced to accommodate, again, the salary structures that we're looking at as we move forward with the other ERP systems. With that little history on our ERPs, let's talk a little bit about IT. If you're familiar with our world, and I know you all are, we have a very expansive IT area at the district office and across the colleges. Lots of different initiatives going on, SSE, SSI, the upgrades, our LMS implementation a year or two ago. Our current staffing is less than optimal right now in ITS, but we're working on hiring to fix that. And if you're familiar with technology in any way, you always know the complexity never goes down, it goes up. And so there's always a challenge to keep up with that. A few things we're doing to try to improve these processes to make us more efficient. We're building out a project management office, and we've already started this. The project management office is used to coordinate all of our projects and initiatives. They assign work tasks to people in and outside of ITS, and they provide a very important thing that we always want to improve on, and that's communication. PMO is excellent at pushing communication out to all the stakeholders in the organization that need to know what's going on their projects and other things that impact them. Another thing I'd love to talk about in more detail at a later time is the creation of our new intake prioritization process that will be rolled out Maricopa-wide very shortly, and we've been using currently to assess all of our IT projects. And it's a way that someone can ask for help from ITS, fill out a very simple, what we call business case form, and then ITS will work with them on the front end of any initiative and make sure that we clearly understand what's necessary to be successful to move something forward in advance of doing any kind of large-scale work. So you would go through this intake prioritization process. A group of folks from the business of Maricopa, a cross-functional group, will actually look at the IT items that are coming in, and they will assist and do the prioritization of those items. ITS is not in the business of prioritizing what Maricopa needs. The business units of Maricopa should be doing that. And so the new group with our prioritization process is doing that on the institution's behalf. As I said earlier, we do have some staffing challenges in ITS that we're working to rectify. We currently have about 75 full-time people in ITS right now. We have approximately 35 vacancies that Sasan and I are working to fill, and they're moving forward very well. We are looking at a chief security officer, 2 associate vice chancellors, manager of the project management office, and filling gaps in the ITS organization that currently we call single points of failure, areas where we might not have enough people if someone leaves or goes on vacation. We want to always make sure that we have backup for every critical area in the department. Because of that, one of the things we're looking at is, of the positions we have available, do they match up with the current need? And in some cases, they do not. We might have a lower level position that we need to upgrade to a slightly larger or higher level position to accommodate some kind of technical challenge or area in the technology division that needs to be met. And so that, our estimate on that for the next fiscal year would be to increase some of the lines in our staffing by $500,000. We also believe that the approximate right staffing level for ITS is around 140 people based on our current research. And the next fiscal year, we would be asking for an additional $3.5 million to support that additional 35 staff members. Along with this, we're continuing to work with our staff members to try to increase training for everyone and keep everyone up to date, because as I said earlier, and we all know technology changes so quickly, anytime a new piece of technology comes out, we want to make sure that our staff members that are there can make sure they maintain it and run it well. I'd like to say that all the consultants we have in ITS will magically go away overnight, but that's not realistic. We need to spend time bringing up the new hires, getting them trained and used to our system and our environment. And as those folks in those positions are filled, there will come a point where we have enough staff to then start reducing the number of consultants we have. And our estimate is around spring of 2015. So as we bring on new staff members, we will start to see a reduction in our use of consultants at that time. Another thing that we're putting together, and we're even working with some of the college IT divisions, is to come up with a more standard technology replacement cycle so that printers and computers and servers are replaced in a very systematic way. And that will actually reduce some of our costs because we'll be buying them all at the same time. And we're working with the IT leads across Maricopa to do the same thing for, as an example, desktop computers. If we can standardize our desktop purchases across Maricopa, then that'll be a much larger purchase and we'll be able to get much better discounts. Do you want to talk about the hosted services?
Sure. So moving forward with ITS, we're looking at hosted and managed services, and where appropriate, ITS is also reviewing areas that might be better supported with a hosted or managed services.
You need to go to the mic.
Sorry, come on over here.
Okay. Excuse me. This one? Is that the one that's left? Okay. So moving forward, ITS is looking at hosted and managed services. And what we're looking at is, where appropriate, we're looking at reviewing areas that might be better supported with hosted or managed services overall. The initial area that we're looking at in hosted managed services is support of our phone systems, networking, and security equipment used here at the district office.
This is also another effort where we're going to continue to expand on our consultants, not consultants, but hosted service groups that have a level of expertise that we may not ever be able to attain in the district office. Because when we use a company that takes care of things like this, they have a wealth of staff and resources that we may never be able to afford. So let's talk about what we're looking at for our ERPs. Remember I said that SIS and CFS are basically coming out of compliance and no longer supported. So we need to migrate those systems, SIS to the newest system, upgrade CFS to a new product called FMS, which Oracle produces. We will need to re-implement our HRMS system in the future to address the comp and class changes. And we want to use a product called Hyperion to replace BDS, which is also an Oracle PeopleSoft piece of software. So the integration with our current systems will be much tighter, much better than what we have today. The other really good thing about this is by using the same vendor for all three things, or four things, the knowledge and benefit of that is really tight integration. It'll be much easier when we ask for something if we need to get data out of the systems for dashboards and things like that in the future. We don't have to go to multiple places. We're dealing with one partner, and that's going to be Oracle. The plan is over the next 12 to 36 months, we're looking at moving all of our ERP systems, all four of the systems we talked about, into the Oracle Cloud. And Oracle will host these systems for us, which again, they have a level of expertise in this area that we may never be able to attain with the environment and funding that we currently have in Maricopa. Again, benefits, same vendor will create software. That creates the software will also support it. So the people who are actually creating the software are also the ones running it for us. Oracle has an excellent track record of hosting, scaling, and securing their services. They have a much higher level of security at their system that will really help us move forward. Data encryption, data masking. And Oracle's core business is software and hosting as a company. Our core business is teaching and learning, so we want them to do their core business. We want to do our core business on our side. And one of the things that I found when we were going through their excellent track record as a reference, they run Starbucks. So if you consider how many transactions they have every day with Starbucks, that's very substantial. What will Oracle do versus what will District ITS do? Oracle will host the physical environment on their servers with their network and their database controls and their level of security. They will do all the software patches for us. So as updates and things come from the Oracle system, they will handle those for us. And if we need customized programming to modify the system for Maricopa needs, Oracle's teams, or we're recommending Oracle's teams, will also facilitate that. Maricopa will handle all the contracts and integration with Oracle so that they are meeting our expectations. Service level agreements basically mean they're going to do what we've contracted them to do, and we're going to stay on top of that. We will use that project management office I mentioned earlier to coordinate all the aspects of any work we need to do to make sure that Oracle gets the information for any kind of changes, enhancements, or expansions of the system, which includes gathering functional requirements from employees around the district stakeholders, because the Maricopa employees know better than anyone else what our system needs to do. So we would collect that information and give it to Oracle to build as we expect. And also we would do the user acceptance testing of the enhancements prior to releasing to production.
Ed?
Yes.
On the first section, you're saying that they would be on the cloud and Oracle would be hosting that.
Correct.
I'm assuming there still would be security issues at the district, but is there a backup from them if they're hosting it that would facilitate our security?
You mean a backup if something happened to their environment?
No.
Oh.
As I say, I assume we still have security issues,
yes.
But do they have capabilities that would help us be more secure?
Yes. Thank you. So putting the Oracle environment and our ERPs in their system, by its own nature, of the level of expertise and security they have, will automatically jump us up to a higher level than what we're capable of today. So that's good. We're also going to put, and Sasan, correct me because I know you've been helping with this, a piece of technology between us and them to encrypt the data as it goes from Maricopa to Oracle, so the information going across the internet would not be decryptable. They wouldn't be able to see it. Someone tried to get in that respect.
Thanks.
Okay. So, unfortunately, this doesn't come without some level of resource. And so looking at hosting the SIS system and the CFS replacement is around $2.1 million a year. To continue keeping our employees up to date with training, initially, at least for the next couple of years, we want to make sure that we have a resource to allow them to either we bring in training if it's more cost effective, or we'll send them the training. Around $3 million is what we're estimating for the hosted services to manage and run our networks and phones. And we're still working on that one as far as getting official quotes from the vendor, but that's our current estimate. And I apologize. There was one mistake in the PowerPoint. It should have said $500,000 on both sides, but $500,000 increase ITS job postings for this coming fiscal year. And we have different maintenance things that are going on in the district that as we add new services, our maintenance costs go up. As an example, we recently implemented a district-wide plagiarism detection software. That's one thing that now raised our annual maintenance because we're paying for that every year, as an example. That's our update on where ITS is today and where we're heading next year. Can I take any questions?
We'll look forward to more as time rolls on.
Thank you.
I think so. Another content expert for you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To President Saar, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC. I'm always delighted and excited to talk about the wonderful activities that we are doing and what we are proposing to do over the next year. I would like to talk about these One Maricopa initiatives, Seamless Student Experience, affectionately known as SSE, Student Success Initiative, also known as SSI, Integrated Marketing Outreach, Recruitment, and Retention, which Chancellor Glasper mentioned earlier, known as I-More Squared, Support for Veteran Students, Early College Programs, and Compliance. What we are attempting to do by bringing together all of these initiatives is to create the new student experience. We want students to experience us as a system that from the first time that they come in contact with any of our institutions, regardless of what path they choose to take, that experience is not only seamless, but that they enjoy it, that they get what they are paying for, that they are experiencing the highest level of academic rigor, and that they're completing their goals. And how are we going to do that? Well, I like to show this. This is what I use all the time, which is about student success DNA. And it's the way to explain how all of these initiatives are aligning together, because we want students to be successful. And if we can get all of them aligned and working in the same direction, we are confident that our students are going to be successful and that we will see students persisting. Just as an example, the cell has a cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, chromatin, etc. And so we have the integrated marketing outreach and retention is looking at how information is presented to students. Seamless student experience is really behind the wall. How are the systems working to make sure that the student's experience is exactly seamless? The student success initiatives looking at how we can help the student to be prepared as they're entering our institutions. And then looking at some of the tools, some of the unifying tools to make sure that we are communicating with the students and the student is receiving the appropriate information along their academic pathway. So what have we done? We've done a lot. I want to recognize Lauren Schellenberger, who is the Vice President over Seamless Student Experience. Her team, as well as members across the district, have been working tirelessly on the Seamless Student Experience process. We have the new single scholarship application, which currently we have over 1,700 students in that database who are receiving some type of scholarship or looking to receive scholarship funds. We've implemented a financial aid answer center that's open 24/7. Currently we have almost 300,000 calls that we've received and answered. We've implemented a single transcript report, which allows a student to go to any of our colleges and say, I need my transcripts, and so all of the work that they've accomplished, regardless of what institution they've attended, they can receive that. We've tried to standardize the majority of our financial aid processes across all of our 10 colleges. And the most important thing is that we provided training, because we believe that training is very important to making sure that the tools and the processes that we have in place are being used and being supported appropriately. Then we have integrated marketing, outreach, recruitment, and retention. Again, I-More Squared. As the Chancellor indicated, we are in the middle of doing facilitating a brand identifier project. We launched Engage, Learn, and Connect, which is to engage students, that employees will learn about the resources available to students, and that they will connect those students to the resources at their college campuses. Another initiative we are doing currently is Recruit to Retain. We have sent out over 6,000 letters to high school seniors who are currently participating in our ACE, Hoop of Learning, and dual enrollment programs. And we also have a backup initiative where we have high school recruiters from each of our college campuses who are following up with those 6,000 students, because they're already in our system. And so we want to make sure that we are providing them with information from scholarships and opportunities and programs to let them know that they can continue on with us after they finish high school. We've had student focus groups to make sure that the information that we are providing to you and to our community is on target with what students are feeling about our district. And we're also working to standardize naming conventions and terminology. So what we find is, across all of our 10 colleges, the library is not necessarily called the library. So what we want to do is look at what our students saying are the names that they're familiar with, and how can we make sure that we are providing those services to them and that they know what that service is and where it's located. Student Success Initiative, we've started the implementation of mandatory experiences, which I believe Estrella Mountain talked about the new student orientation, which is one of our great programs that we've implemented as a mandatory experience. And all of these 5 things are based on best practices from the Center for Community College Student Engagement, which we feel is very important to what we're doing here. Supporting student success, these are initiatives that I think are critical to making sure that we provide the appropriate support to students. Again, we're working, there are 2 federal mandates that are out now. One is called Principles of Excellence, the other is called 8 Keys to Success, which is mandating certain types of services, programs, and initiatives to support veteran students. Early college programs, again, we're trying to create a web of support for them and to transition them into our colleges after they complete high school. I know that there were some board members who were at our Men Empowerment Conference this past week. We've done some wonderful things with working with our minority male students to improve the success of that student population. And finally, compliance. Many of the initiatives that are coming from the federal government and the state are predicated upon being in compliance. And if there is non-compliance, then it affects the ability for our students to receive federal financial aid. So it's very important for us to look at how do we make sure that we're always in compliance and that we're providing the optimal service to students. So momentum is building, very similar to moving forward. This is what we would like to do in the next year. The Seamless Student Experience is currently has some high-value projects underway. I do want to make one clarification about the student financial fraud prevention and mitigation. What we have found over the United States is that there are a lot of what we call fraud rings. These are individuals who are fraudulently using the financial aid process to receive funds illegally. And what we want to do is make sure that our students who are receiving financial aid funds properly are protected from any fraudulent behavior from any other individual who is trying to receive funds utilizing their name. There are some projects that are on the way: financial aid standardization, mandatory experience tracking, single admissions, meaning that a student can apply to Maricopa Community Colleges and attend any one of our colleges without multiple admissions. And then a single sign-on, which means that on all of our tools and all of our processes, a student can use one sign-in to access all of those. With iMore, we want to continue with the high school prioritization model, which means that we're looking at how can we utilize our recruitment staff at all of the colleges to maximize our return on investment as we're going to recruit at those institutions. I Will Graduate campaign is to really look at our goal of getting students across the stage. We want to do some enhanced recruitment strategies to support strategic enrollment management. We want to implement the brand identifier model, and we want to expand our retention and university transfer programming. Finally, we want to improve student success. I'm very happy to report that we have made a lot of progress as it relates to supporting veteran students' services. We had some openings of veteran service centers. I know that we had one at Estrella Mountain recently. We had Mesa College, and coming up is going to be Phoenix College. And we will continue to do that, and we will make sure that we will provide the services so that our returning vets can receive their benefits that they've worked very hard for. The other is that we will continue to do staffing and programmatic support for Student Success Initiative, which was the mandatory experiences, our early college programs, and minority male. And finally, to look at making sure that we are bolstering up our ability to stay in compliance and to make sure that we meet all the mandates, particularly of the Higher Education Act. So those are the items that we are looking to receive your support on, and we hope that we've explained as we can the information here. Questions? Yes, sir.
Felicia, are we using any software to notify students about when to register, identifying their attendance in class and potential absences, potential problems of student success? And I know there's some software out there. Have we looked at any of that?
So we currently have mymaricopa.edu, which is our initial foray into student portal. We're working on identifying an advisement tool, which will not only talk about the resources that are available to them, tracking them out through their academic trajectory, but also looking at some of the options of providing them support and identifying what they call predictive analytics and helping the student to be successful and to find the resources and connect them with those resources.
Where are we at on that?
That's in the budget for next year.
Any other comments or questions?
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Gay, any more?
That's it for the content experts. You've heard most of them. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And if not, we'll see you next month, where you'll consider tuition and fees as an action item, and we will provide you with our first draft of the budget for next year as an information item.
Thanks, Gay. This is like drinking out of a fire hose, obviously, with lots of information and lots of alphabets. But I really appreciate the information that you've given us, and we'll look forward to individual discussions among board members with you and others involved in the process of putting the budget together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
We'll go into the monitoring reports. The Budget Analysis Report, Fund 1, which is the general unrestricted fund for the 7 months ending January 31st, 2014. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, as you know, the monthly budget analysis report compares actual revenue collections to the budget that was adopted by the board and to actual expenditures to the budget. It also provides a comparison to collection and expenditure rates for the current period for 2 prior years. In terms of revenues, we've collected 67.8% of budget through January, which is a rate comparable to prior years. As I have indicated in the past, our major revenue source in the general fund is property taxes at approximately 60% of the budget. And as I've said before, there are 2 major collection periods for property taxes, October and November, and then again in April and May. For these 7 months, of the $239 million collected in property tax, $178 million was collected in that October and November period that people are submitting their payments, and that's 74% of the total we expect to receive. In terms of expenditures, they too compare to prior years. Approximately 49% has been expended to date. Last month we spent about 43% of budget, and as I've indicated previously, this increase of about 6-7% is very typical on a monthly basis. Last, of the total spent, the largest amount is on personnel services and benefits, which is because that is how we provide services and teaching and learning to our students, and that's about 76% of the total expenditures to date.
Thank you. Any questions?
No question.
Move on to the 2004 General Obligation Bonds, Series A, 2005 Series B, 2007 Series C, 2009 Series D, 2011, and Series 2013, and the 2004 Capital Development Plan summary as of December 31st, 2013. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, in November 2004, the voters of Maricopa County approved a referendum for the district to commence a major capital development program financed by general obligation bonds totaling $951,359,000. This approval also granted the district the authority to levy secondary property taxes, which serve as the pledge and payment source for the bonds. Since this vote, the district has issued all authorized bonds in 5 separate bond sales in 2005, 2007, 2009, 2011, and 2013. Annual debt service for outstanding principal and interest currently totals approximately $77 million. The interest rates on the bond issuances range between 2.67% and 4.01%, and approximately 1% for the one refunding we did of the bonds we've issued. All issuances were for a maturity date in total of 15 years, and all debt will be retired by 2027. The district earned a AAA credit rating, which is the highest possible from Fitch and Moody's for the 2005 issuance, and a AAA from all 3 major rating agencies, including Standard & Poor's, for the remaining issuances. In terms of the projects the district has been involved in, we've been very actively engaged in implementing the program over the past decade. 61 projects have been completed, 8 are in construction, 4 are in initiation or design, and 3 are pending, and there will be some future projects down the road as well. We also purchased 23 properties, land and buildings, and for all of the projects completed, underway, or about to commence, we've added about 1.6 million square feet from bond funds, and about 878,000 square feet was remodeled. Initial projects will be initiated and completed, and all proceeds are expected to be expended in the next couple of years.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
John.
Thank you very much. Moving on to community linkage and individual reports from board members, we'll start with Mr. Burke.
I was pleased to attend the Chandler Gilbert fundraising activity, Champagne and Chocolate, recently. Quite a large crowd there, and I understand they had a good response on raising money for student scholarships. Also attended the All Arizona Academic Team luncheon, where awards were given to a significant number of Maricopa students through the Phi Theta Kappa. Also attended the Communiversity building dedication at Queen Creek, lovely building, and very active program, so we're pleased to have that facility out there. That afternoon, went to the PC Nursing building dedication. We toured that when it was a shell, and just excellent facility, so pleased to see that. And tomorrow, I'm going to the groundbreaking for the MCC Enrollment Center building.
Thank you. Mr. Gutierrez.
Mr. Chairman, I've been trying to figure out where the lights are. I haven't figured out where to park the car yet. But I must tell you that the staff, everyone, the Chancellor's office, the Vice Chancellors, everyone I've met with, in order to be briefed on the magnitude of this district, everyone has been extraordinary. A meeting scheduled with faculty representatives, with we're going to Estrella and doing a tour across the district, and I'm looking forward to it. The one thing I will say to each of you is that I imagined that I understood the complexity and the magnitude of this district, and it's way beyond my imagination. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Ron?
I attended the men's conference that Felicia mentioned, and Dana was there. We both were there. It was an awesome conference for minority males. We had an inspiring motivational speaker that the students just loved, and thank you, Dr. Kovala, for hosting it at Glendale Community Colleges. We had round tables there. The kids could individually talk with mentors, and 4 of our presidents were there: Ernie Lara, Steve Gonzalez, Dr. Pan, and Chris Bustamante were there. with the students, along with State Legislator Juan Mendez was there to help motivate and encourage these students to be so successful. We also went, Doyle mentioned, really impressed Dr. Anasale with the nursing building. The before and after, like Doyle talked about, well, what a beautiful building, what a great facilities in there. And my wife and I were there. She had to go to the doctor, and she picked me up, and she toured it. And we're looking at this mannequin that's blinking its eyes, and it just scared the bejeebies out of us. And, and this thing gives birth, too. So awesome equipment. It's very expensive equipment to train a nurse, and I appreciate the effort and the creativity of the team that put together to do that. And went to the academic team conference with Dana Doyle and myself were there. And at the academic team conference, college kids from all across the state were there getting awards and scholarships, and it was a great event, and seeing the student success. And these students were just outstanding students going on to be lawyers and professionals, and it was just very inspiring.
Mrs. Pearson.
I have been serving as the Pacific Regional Representative for the Asian Pacific Islander Native American National Committee or organization with ACCT, and as the Pacific Regional Representative, since I was shotgun inducted into that position within just months of being elected to the board, I've had a lot of opportunities and privileges, including being elected the chair of the organization or the group as well. And over this period of the last 6 months, as I was preparing for our meetings in D.C. and getting help from other community college officials or trustees to make our meeting a success, it was a very special privilege to have Randolph Lum show up at my last meeting that I'll be chairing at a national level. And it really meant a lot to me, the way that he came in and supported me. I want to publicly thank him.
Thank you. I attended the foundation retreat today, at least a portion of it, and heard some outstanding testimonials from not only our foundation board members, but also from staff, and especially at the staff at Mesa Community College, and they produced a pamphlet on their activities for fundraising that contains a number of testimonials from our students, former and current. And I know that not everybody can get these in printed form, but it's going to be online, I was told. And I encourage everybody to read those, as well as the other colleges as well, who are actively involved in raising funds for our students. It's an important function of every college, and it needs to be understood as to how those funds really support our goals and aspirations for our students. So check it out as much as you can. I've been to many of the things that we talked about today, and it's fun to see that progress is being made on new buildings, and the fact that they've made a difference in the areas that they're in particular the community university out in Surprise, and now the community university at the other end of the county in Queen Creek. We've got it covered. But it's a unique concept. Every time I listen to people that have spent time out there, whether they're adults taking classes in ceramics or whether they're students taking tests for some of their classes, it's really meeting the needs of our students, and I appreciate the efforts by all of you to get that done. Moving on, finally, Chancellor, would you like to say more?
No.
No other comment.
Somebody's tired. I guess the next then is the Faculty Executive Council report. Dr. Patricia Finkenstead.
Thank you, President Sarr, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of CEC, and honored guests. First, I'd like to officially welcome Mr. Alfredo Gutierrez to the governing board. Welcome again. Thank you again for the opportunity to present on shared governance and peer review a few weeks ago. We certainly look forward to continuing that conversation with the board and with members of CEC. We're in the process of posting that presentation to the Faculty Association website for those of you who might have missed it or would just like to go look again. Secondly, we're in the process of electing a president-elect for academic year 14-15 for the Faculty Association, so hopefully we'll have those results to report out probably in about 6 weeks or so. And then lastly, the Faculty Foundation is hosting a fundraising event entitled An Evening of Western and Native American Art on Friday, May 2nd, 2014, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Zelma Bashas Salmeri Gallery. And of course, you're all invited. Last year, this event raised over $9,000 for emergency scholarships to keep our students enrolled in college. And if you're interested in tickets today, Jim Simpson has a few in his pocket. And so we're very hopeful that we'll meet and exceed that funding level this year. So thank you. Excuse me? Not over $9,000. Oh, how much are the tickets? $50. $50 a ticket. And it was I think it was an incredible event last year. I'm sure many of you were there. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. From the Adjunct Faculty Association, Ms. Layton, I see a hand.
Thank you. President Saar, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Licia Hand, Adjunct Faculty Employee Group President. I also would like to welcome Alfredo Gutierrez to the board. Welcome. Thank you for the continued opportunity to speak on behalf of the adjunct faculty. The purpose of speaking to you tonight is to present our new college representative for Gateway Community College, as well as our vice president, and provide a brief update. So with me here tonight is Lindsay Dippold. She is our new college representative for Gateway. We're happy to have her. She holds an MS in counseling and a PhD in higher education. She's been teaching for 8 years. However, she's recently joined Maricopa Community College District when she relocated to Phoenix. So we're happy to have her, and Gateway's happy to have her. Also here tonight is Roxanne Beckstrom-Sternberg. She's held a position with college representative for Paradise Valley Community College for 3 years and was recently nominated as the vice president for the Adjunct Faculty Employee Group. So we have Roxanne here. Before I move forward to the update, I think it's appropriate to note that we have Roberto Hernandez, college representative from Phoenix here, and Deborah Nolan, who's also adjunct faculty at Glendale Community College. It's important because our adjunct faculty don't often come out, so I'm happy that we have so many here tonight. The Adjunct Faculty Employee Group is continuing to work with MCLI to plan the 2014 Spring Day of Learning, and I'm happy that MCLI, we worked together to make a district-wide announcement, and we had approximately 10 adjunct faculty, one per campus, that are on the planning committee to plan this. So this will be a day of learning planned and prepared by adjunct faculty for adjunct faculty. We're pleased to do that. We're also hoping to move forward with longevity recognition at this event. Approximately 900, that's how many we had about last year, so it could be the same this year. I'm also pleased to say that the Adjunct Faculty Employee Group is working with MCLI and the Faculty Association to integrate adjunct faculty in the new faculty orientation. So I think that's a really big step for us. And thank you for the continued opportunity to speak on behalf of our 7,000, almost 7,000 adjunct faculty who provide student support, student engagement, and academic rigor for Maricopa Community College.
Thank you. Thank you. And from the employee group called Management, Administration, and Technology, better known as MAT, Mr. Houston.
Thank you, President Saar, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Dan Houston. I'm the MAT Association President, representing Management, Administration, and Technology employees from across the district. Going third, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we do welcome Mr. Gutierrez. We
Thank you.
Certainly appreciate your willingness to serve with Mr. Miranda's passing. Thank you. Also on tonight's consent agenda with the hiring of Ms. Shelton Johnson. In about a month, our group will welcome back to the ranks a good person and a great employee, Mr. Bowers. We appreciate all he's done during his tenure. It'll be about a year. As Vice Chancellor of Human Resources, we have found him to be supportive, respectful, and open to diverse opinions. Personally, I've appreciated the council he has offered when I have encountered new situations and been unsure how to proceed. His experience has been enlightening. Thank you for your time.
From the colleges, from Scottsdale Community College, Dr. Gaylor.
President Sarr, may I approach
Yes,
the
you may.
podium and invite a couple colleagues as guests?
Absolutely.
I'd like to say that we have saved the best for last, although that doesn't mean that everything else this evening hasn't been the very best. I'm pleased to be here, and I've invited a couple colleagues to join me. Janet Robinson is Film Humanities faculty and president of our Faculty Senate, and Rick Kidder, who is president and CEO of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce. They're going to provide some brief remarks, very brief remarks to you tonight. But I wanted to tell you that about 5.5 years ago, I became a member of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce. And about 4 years ago, I became a member of their board of directors. As such, every year I attended an event in November called the Sterling Awards Luncheon. And I watched over the years as different business owners and members received wonderful awards from the Chamber, and kept thinking about, is it our time? Should we step up and take the initiative to apply for one of the Sterling Awards? Well, this last year we did, and we were notified in the fall that we were one of 3 finalists. There are 4 awards given: microbusiness, small business, big business, and nonprofit categories. So we were told that we were one of 3 finalists in the big business category. We, of course, all practiced our speech that it was just going to be an honor to be one of the finalists, knowing full well that we really wanted to win. And this award is always a total surprise, and it's not announced, and no one knows, not even Rick, until the luncheon, and we were just thrilled to find out that we were awarded the Sterling Award for Big Business. And so I've asked Janet and Rick here to just share their thoughts about what this award means, both to the faculty and the folks at the college, and from Rick's point of view, what this means, how the rest of the community of Scottsdale, the business community, feels about us or thinks about us as an award winner. So, Janet. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Mr. President, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, honored guests, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I am not Janet. I am Rick Kidder, and I'm privileged to serve as president and CEO of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce. And I'm pleased to be here to discuss the awarding of this year's Sterling Award to Scottsdale Community College, one of our region's finest assets. Frankly, I'm long past due in thanking you as a body and the Maricopa County Community Colleges in particular for the fine work that you do every day in supporting the business community by being an integral part of the training of our workforce. Our community college system is one of the true shining lights of our region, and in so many ways a model for keeping the word community the center of your educational mission. The Sterling Awards are presented annually in 4 categories. They have been presented for 28 years, and over that time they've grown in prestige to be recognized as one of the highest honors a business can attain. Applicants take the risk of self-nomination through a process that is both intense and comprehensive. The Chamber itself takes only the role of coordinator and convener for a juried process that includes more than 50 business volunteers who dedicate hundreds of hours to the application evaluation and site visit process. Each judge scores independently and confidentially, with results tabulated by a captain whose role it is to review the scoring and present the findings to the Chamber staff member responsible for pulling the awards luncheon together. SRP films on-site and studio videos for each business named as a finalist, and I'm pleased I've given to Dr. Gaylor to offer you this evening a copy of those videos, one of which features our big business honoree this year, Scottsdale Community College. Scottsdale Community College earned this high honor, and as a chamber, we could not be more pleased. The college joins the like of previous honorees such as Scottsdale Healthcare, the Henkel Corporation, Scottsdale Insurance as the big business honoree, and we could not be more proud. So on behalf of the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce, its 1,200 businesses, its board of directors, I would like to congratulate SCC on their award and thank you, their governing board, for the support that you provide that allows Scottsdale Community College to demonstrate such excellence on a daily basis.
In the immortal words of Sally Field, they like us, they really
Thank you and congratulations, Dr. Gaylor, and please pass along our support and congratulations for all your staff that do the work, and your students as well.
And it's nice having the Chamber of Commerce here at Scottsdale. Glad you came, took the time to be with us. So we're honored.
We're getting towards the end here, so if anybody's sad, I'm sorry about that. Mr. Burke reporting on AADGB.
The Arizona Association of District Governing Board Members meets on March 6 here at the district office. Long agenda.
dear.
We have 4 new board members, interestingly enough, from colleges around the state. Let's see, Arizona Western College, Pima, Eastern, and Cochise all have new board members.
Good. And you are the president?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Just want to make sure people know that. I'll report on the Arizona School Boards Association, and also as a board member of the the Association of Community College Trustees. The Arizona School Board Association is heavily involved with legislation, as most entities in Arizona are. We're getting daily updates from our people there that give us an idea of what legislation is moving through the process, and I appreciate that for keeping us on top of that. That's definitely important to us as well. Also, they're coming up with some summer activities if we're interested as board members of attending. There's a law conference. There's also a retreat up in Flagstaff later on this summer that really gives an opportunity for us to learn what's going on in the K-12 world and make sure that we're connected to that, because those are our students of the future. ACCT, we just got back from an extended trip to Washington, D.C., thanks to Mother Nature and the lack of airport transportation back to Arizona. It was a good conference. We got a chance to listen to some good discussion from people, not only politically, but just in terms of keeping up on what other school or other governing boards around the country are doing that we can learn from, and we shared some of our experiences with them as well. It's a good organization. I was glad to be home. I think everybody can attest to that fact. And finally, and certainly not least, we have our legislative report. Don Wallace, please fill us in on what's happening in downtown Phoenix.
Good evening, President Saar, members of the board, Chancellor, members of CEC, and guests in attendance. My name is Don Wallace, and I'm your Director of Government Relations. I generally give you a legislative update. I'm going to try and be brief. I'm hoping that my face will create happy thoughts for people because it'll signal the conclusion of the governing board meeting. So I would like to begin a little bit about budget. The state budget development process is currently underway. Budget hearings have concluded on sort of the top 10 general fund agencies at the state level. The typical process in terms of budget development from this point forward is that the leadership teams from both chambers of the legislature will begin to convene negotiations amongst themselves to put together a consensus document that they can then take to the executive branch for negotiations. In recent years, The prelude to those interchamber negotiations have been small group meetings with individual members of respective caucuses to get a signal of what member priorities are. The leadership tends to take those priorities and develops what they believe are the legislatures, or at least the folks that are negotiating with the executive branch, those priorities in the development of the state budget. They are also concurrently working with legislative economists to determine revenue forecasting, as the revenue estimates are essentially the driver of spending capacity. If revenues are not where they need to be, they will drive down, obviously, the expenditure line, certainly drawing on cash balances when needed, but leading to discussions on the structural deficit of the budget, whether it's positive or negative. And right now, the legislature believes that we do not have a structurally solid budget, and at some point or another, the revenues need to catch up with the expenditures. I can tell you that my experience with the budget process is that it is a bit delayed this year. I think that it's a combination of election year and also the fact that the budget is not in crisis, as it has been for the last 5 years. And so member priorities tend to be on their policy agendas and their respective bills as they head into campaign season. To give you a sense of priorities, the executive has what she believes to be a structurally balanced budget. By that I mean that by fiscal year 2016, which is 2 years out, she will have revenues and expenditures to match so that we do not have any draws on cash balances going forward. She has also prioritized CPS, prioritized K-12, and what she is calling government, good government and modernization, which is a tremendous focus on technology. There is hundreds of millions of dollars in her budget related to technology needs, ranging from the Department of Economic Security to Department of Administration. I will also tell you that, judging from appropriations committees, the legislature is equally focused on CPS, K-12, transportation infrastructure. You'll hear a lot about HERF funding, and K-12 and debt repayment. To date, we have met with all members of majority and minority leadership on our budget needs. We, and in addition to that, our committees on education, higher education, and appropriations. We are going into the month of March with a big push in terms of meeting with the remaining members to continue to talk about Maricopa priorities and Maricopa needs. You've heard a little bit about state funding, its decline over the last 6 years. We are hoping that in this budget our goal is to return to a level of full statutory funding, state formula funding. That will, of course, I will be quite honest, will be a bit of a task. It is about a $12 million ask from the legislature for our district alone. However, we continue to make a very strong case about our value and the need for state investment. Moving forward to our legislative process, I'm happy to report on the 19th, the House Higher Education Committee did host all 10 community college district presidents and 2 chancellors. We were welcomed. We had a series of presentations starting with Chancellor Glasper, Chancellor Lampert, ending with President Rottweiler from Cochise. We had a very innovative approach. We had each district bring along a business partner who then kind of gave a real life experience as it related to the work that we do. Most are workforce development related. Our business partner was John Schufelt, the former CEO of NextCare, and he discussed the value of our workforce programs in the context of his clinics and the tremendous growth of his clinics. We also honored the All Arizona Academic Scholars. We had 10 in attendance. They are recognized by the committee. 2 of those, we had 10 there, and 2 of them were Maricopa students, one from Glendale and one from Mesa. This last week was the last week to hear bills in the Chamber of Origin, so they're switching now from the House to the Senate. We have 3 bills that have direct impact to the community colleges. We were supportive of all of them, and those are the 3 that survived. And I can briefly tell you that the first is House Bill 2005 that dealt with streamlining the process for out-of-county tuition processing. House Bill 2577, which is a Maricopa-led bill that would streamline or eliminate the need to have licensure on a state-by-state basis for our online education programs that go beyond the state of Arizona. As a very burdensome process. It's a very expensive process, and we are working with our WICHE organization to create reciprocity among states to eliminate all of that regulation. We are also supportive of a Senate Bill 1289, which would appropriate $500,000 to a teacher loan forgiveness program. To date, that program has only been for students who are in traditional teacher prep programs. They are expanding it this year to include post-baccalaureate, which we do at 2 of our campuses. So we're very supportive of allowing our students to tap into potentially a state financial aid program. We're also tracking a variety of ASRS bills. I monitor K-12 bills. I monitor public safety bills. I also monitor university bills. Obviously, many of those have indirect impact, and as long as we monitor them, if we feel that they have some impact, we weigh in as stakeholders and we get to participate in any processing. And finally, I've been working with legislators for opportunities to present on our programs. I've been invited by Senator Tovar, the minority leader, in the Senate to present to the Hispanic Caucus on Maricopa. We are working with the members or the chairman of the Commerce Committees to get time in front of their committees to talk about our corporate college and our workforce. And I am hoping that we will get some additional exposure through those efforts. And with that, I'm very happy to answer questions for the Governing Board. Chancellor.
Thanks for an outstanding report. And the work you're doing is really, really proud of you, and thanks for being on staff. But I think I need to say, as an individual, not as a board member, and as a Christian, as a licensed independent counselor, I hope the governor vetoes 1062. It's important to Arizona that we do not discriminate.
Don, I want to thank you, too, for doing what you do. It's a big job, and you're doing it well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I mentioned in upcoming meetings that March 4th will be our agenda review. It'll be right here in the Governing Board room. Everyone is welcome. It's an informal discussion of the upcoming board meeting on March 25th, such as this. It'll be here at the Governing Board room. We'll also have a work session on March 4th following the agenda review as well. That also is open to the public. I suppose we got to go, so meeting is adjourned.